So tonight, as we celebrate the building, we cannot do so without the inclusion of most of you who are viewing both virtually and in person. You were integral to the many activities and accomplishments that have brought us to year 30 on today, September 21st, 2021. So grammatically speaking, tonight is not a period to end the success of the center after 30 years. Instead, it is a comma that signifies that there's more to come. More students, more programs and services, and many more birthdays. I am Christina White, your co-host in Miss Wonka 2021.
Well said, Christina, and welcome to all. Not only am I honored to represent the AACRC as Mr. Wonka, I'm overly proud to serve the Cultural Resource Center at a pinnacle period in UC Black history, where we are literally standing in real time on our campus, participating in another era of UC Black excellence. So, today is literally 30 years after reflection was made real, a thought was made creation, and a fight was made a victory on this campus, the making of the African American Cultural and Resource Center. Thank you all for joining us today, whether you're participating virtually or in person. So let's get started by observing another rich tradition of the AACRC, and that is our libation. Today's libation will be presented by one of the most active student activists who had worked boldly and aggressively to bring the AACRC to our campus. Please welcome Mr. Reggie Brazel, class of 1993 from UC South.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I am saved, so first giving honor to the Lord, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and thank God for being here. And I'm going to give a little history of the libation, and I will be brief. But for now, each of us in here, no matter your pigmentation, is African, because history tells us that the first human being was founded or born in Africa. So we all have some African DNA. So the libation is an ancestral tradition where we pour water into earth and we call out the names of our ancestors to make our ancestral heritage a part of this experience. So what I'm going to do is we'll be pouring some water into the earth. I'm going to say a name, and I just want you to repeat the name. And then I'll say a word called I say. Okay? All right, so I'm going to have a little practice because it has to be African, and we're not head shakers, all right? So it's all right. So let me just say my name, and you say my name. My name is Reggie. What's my name?
Reggie.
All right, a little louder. Come on, you see. I mean, we were loud in 93. I thought we could be loud in 21. All right, even with the mask on. My name is Reggie. What's my name?
Reggie.
All right. We call upon our ancestors far and near, mothers of our mothers, and fathers of our fathers, to render love, justice, and mercy today. The first name I'm going to call is the first African American to graduate from the School of Medicine in 1933. Her name was Lucy Oxley. Can you say Lucy Oxley?
Lucy Oxley.
All right. All right. We're going to pour the water into the earth. Amen. Now, this is an African tradition. Now, you all may have done this in funerals. You see young men or young ladies pouring liquor into the ground, they don't know why. They don't know it's an African tradition. This comes from the continent. We've been doing this for hundreds of years. The second name is a former director who used to be here, one of the greatest women who I had the pleasure of knowing, who was the director at the University of Cincinnati. Her name was Linda Bates Parker.
Yes.
Can you say Linda Bates Parker?
Linda Bates Parker.
You gotta repeat that right there. And the last name that I'm going to bring is a bit controversial. This young brother was not a UC graduate, but he was killed by University of Cincinnati police officers. And we're going to remember that because that's the purpose of the African Cultural Resource Center, so that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. Samuel DuBose.
Samuel DuBose.
Ashe. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Bradwell, for bringing the fire to the African tradition and appropriately starting us off in the respect that is due to our ancestors. Also, would you please help me applaud Mr. Bradwell for all that he did 30 years ago and all that he has poured into our UC Black community. And speaking of tradition and homage, now please stand for the singing of our Black national anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, led by the award-winning gospel artist, Darwin Hobbs. We will sing the first verse in chorus, and the words are projected on the screen.
That was very special. And thank you all for lifting your voices and singing as well. And now to deliver our official University of Cincinnati welcome remarks. Please welcome Deborah Stotts Merchant, Vice President for Student Affairs.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
On behalf of President Pinto and Provost Fairbank, welcome to some and welcome back to others to the University of Cincinnati. Today, our university's African American Cultural and Resource Center celebrates its 30-year anniversary. 30 years ago, on September 21st, 1991, the AACRC first opened its door. A sense of belonging is an essential element in an inclusive and supportive culture. Places that foster that sense of belonging are vitally important on university campuses and help students find community, be authentic, and not only define, but achieve success. The need for a place for students of color on this campus goes as far back as 1935, when Donald Spencer, husband of Marion Spencer, founded the Quadre Society to promote the inclusion of Black students in extracurricular activities at UC, because at that time, student organizations were segregated. During the almost 2 decades of the Quadres hosting activities on campus, the vast majority of meetings were held right here in the lobby of this building. As an open and available space to UC's community, this was one of the few places on campus where the Quadre Society could meet. There is a direct line from that dream to this moment of celebration. Tonight's program is appropriately entitled Furaha Kuzaliwa, which means happy birthday in Swahili. Tonight's purpose is to bring alumni, members of our on-campus community, as well as our friends from the local communities together to acknowledge and celebrate the legacy, history, and 30-year existence of the AACRC. Tonight is actually the culminating event in a series of events that were launched in 2020 to celebrate the students and events that led to the birthing of the center. Earlier today, guests and visitors were invited to an AACRC open house for a tour of the space so many students refer to as their home away from home. I hope you had an opportunity to view the AACRC's history exhibit in the TUC atrium that includes 3 decades of memorabilia and photos from the Cultural Center. And after the formal program from 8:30 to 10:30, a live DJ will invite you to dust off those dance moves from your favorite decade, because I understand there will be familiar sounds from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Tonight's event was planned by the AACRC staff and alumni from the University of Cincinnati. If you had anything to do with tonight's celebration, please wave your hand, stand so that you can be acknowledged. They're all over here in this corner. I'll close with this quote from Nelson Mandela. Remember to celebrate milestones as you prepare for the road ahead. Tonight we celebrate, and tomorrow our students, the AACRC staff, and the whole of the UC community will begin planning for the road ahead. And to our alumni this evening, you will also be provided ways to invest in maintaining the rich legacy and impact of the AACRC. Thank you again for making your way to this celebration this evening.
Thank you, VP Merchant, for your excellent remarks, your supreme leadership in the Division of Student Affairs, and your support of the AACRC and its programs. Your presence is always appreciated and valued. Next, we'll receive a center kid, village keeper, and now a diversity expert who is appreciated for planting her feet to the ground as an undergrad student in the mission of creating the center. Dr. Bluzette Marshall, who serves as Vice President for Equity, Inclusion, and Community Impact, has a special relationship with Georgia Beasley, who is known for the first feat to enter the AACRC back in 1991. And fittingly, there is no one other than Dr. Marshall who could personally reflect upon the spirit, life, and legacy of our beloved Georgia E. Beasley. The Ushuru means tribute in Swahili, and after a special video from the AACRC archives, we are honored to welcome Dr. Marshall to the stage to present a special tribute to her legendary sister.
Habari Gani. For those who may not know, Habari Gani is a Swahili term that means what good news do you bring? And so today we celebrate good news, 3 decades, 30 years of our African American Cultural and Research Center, Cultural and Resource Center on campus. Thank you all so much for inviting me to join you for this auspicious occasion. It's hard to believe that 30 years have passed since the center opened its doors. This is a good time to reflect on the original purpose of the center, how it continues to evolve to meet the needs of our students, and what a staple it has been for our university community over the years. You know, like Steve and Byron, who you'll probably hear from this evening, I remember what campus was like without a cultural center. as students huddled in ethnic programs and services, the UBA office, which was United Black Association, the RAP office, or right outside of McDonald's, right here in TUC. Yeah, we have a McDonald's restaurant here. And while students press the university for more support for Black students, I'm also reminded of those who came before me. Those who could only dream of one day being able to have an experience with a cultural center on campus. As a student, I was fortunate enough to meet Miss Georgia Beasley and enjoyed a very close personal relationship with her that lasted a considerable amount of time. We'd hang out for lunch, or I'd go over for dinner. Sometimes we'd go out to the opera. Others, we would just stay at home and listen to music. You know, we'd listen to classical, we'd listen to jazz, and every now and then I'd play some hip hop for her. And you know, surprisingly, she would say, that has a really nice rhythm. That has a really nice rhythm. So that's one of those unknowns about Miss Georgia Beasley. But Miss Beasley graduated from the class of 1925. Think about that. Nearly a century ago, Miss Beasley earned her degree from UC. She was the first in her family to go to college on an Alpha Kappa Alpha scholarship. And she was also the first inductee into the Omicron chapter. And at that time, she was the only Black student to graduate in that class. I remember her telling me that no one would walk with her. And so she couldn't be in the front of the line. She couldn't be in the back of the line. And so she decided to stand right in the middle of everyone so that anyone who came to the graduation ceremony could see what was going on. Ms. Beasley went on to pursue her graduate degree from Columbia University and returned to the university to teach in our, not the university, returned to Cincinnati to teach in our public schools. She was a very proper lady. She wore her pearls and her gloves. She loved the arts, culture, but more importantly, she loved students. She loved opening their minds and helping them learn. So much so that her cousin established a scholarship in her honor. And that kept her engaged not only with the university, but also with students over the years. I distinctly remember helping to coordinate her 90th birthday and her 100th birthday celebrations. But before that, something just as extraordinary happened. We opened the Cultural Center. For Ms. Beasley, this was a turning point in her relationship with the university as it related to the Black experience. She was so excited to learn about the development of the Cultural Center and to hear about the work that students had done to bring it into fruition. But even more than that, she was excited to participate in this opening ceremony. Campus was abuzz that day. I'm sure Dr. Przigian and Reggie and Byron and Steve can all remember that. You know, it seemed like everybody from campus was there. Certainly students, many of whom were dressed in their African attire. We had faculty, we had staff, we had administrators, alumni, and community members. There was so much excitement, and it was a beautiful day. I remember exactly where I was standing on the sidewalk near Dabney. We were hugging each other, we were smiling, and we were talking about what a wonderful time this was. The program was really nice with dignitaries having their special words and comments. And at the conclusion, as you saw, Dr. Abercrombie directed everyone to go into the center. But before we could, another ceremony had to occur. It was determined earlier that before we even opened the center, that the first steps within the center should be that of one of our highly regarded African-American alumni, not a city council member, not a university administrator, but someone who had literally paid their dues on this campus. Escorted by Byron Stallworth, with grace, class, and sophistication, Ms. Beasley joyfully entered the building. Standing on the shoulders of giants, her first steps were not hers alone. They were for the culture and for those who came before her and those who would come after her. In the words of Ms. Beasley, You are an example for someone else coming along. You have that responsibility to future generations and that opportunity. Take advantage of that. You're not going to get it everywhere, and you've got the best right here. So with that, I thank you very much, and that was just a glimpse into the life and the impact that Ms. Beasley had on me, but also on this campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Marshall. Just know that as we celebrate the center, your name, your legacy with the AACRC, and your faithful support and contributions have helped to write the script that documents the excellence of the AACRC. Coming next is a valued member of the UC community who stands tall amongst the administration, who supported the students in the creation of the AACRC. Dr. Perzigian was a key voice who spoke out, and is still speaking out for the success of the African American Cultural and Resource Center. Please welcome Dr. Tony Perzigian, who will offer reflections and memories surrounding the work of the feasibility community in 1990.
My name is Dr.
Well, good evening. Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to offer some personal reflections on this very special occasion, the 30th anniversary of the opening of the AACRC. It's an honor and pleasure to participate, and it's great to be back on campus to see so many old friends and colleagues. As noted in the introduction, my reflections and remembrances stem mostly around 1990. When I was an associate dean in arts and sciences, I was approached by then Vice Provost for Student Affairs, Tom Wagner, approached to see if I would be willing to serve as chair of a committee to examine the feasibility of an African American Culture Center on the UC campus. I accepted the appointment, and we began our work in spring of 1990. Composed of faculty, students, staff, including Dr. Eric Abercrombie. We worked very diligently that spring and summer and fall, and by November 20th, we had submitted a report to President Steger. We'd like to think that the quality and comprehensiveness of that report led to the rapid developments thereafter. Indeed, developments were rapid. President Steger arranged for the report to be taken to the Board of Trustees in the January meeting in 1991. The board deliberated, and the board acted to not only approve the center, but also called for an expedited implementation and opening by fall of 1991. So indeed, mission accomplished, and now we gather 30 years later to celebrate its opening, as well as its many accomplishments over the years, serving the social needs of African American students and serving as a tangible example of UC's commitment to student success in an inclusive, diverse learning environment. And I'd like to offer my kudos to all of those staff who administered the center over these past 3 decades. But I want to underscore that the events in 1990, including the feasibility study, while instrumental, did not obscure the role of many others who paved the way, who led with vision, and who we should recognize, at least briefly, today. There are too many to name, but believe me, that they would fill several UC Mount Rushmores. Indeed, let's not forget the founders of the UVA in 1968, the Dwight Tillerys, the Melvin Posies, the Eileen Cooper Reeds, and the Tony Jacksons, to name a few. These are student leaders with vision, purpose, and courage. In fact, right out of the gate, they presented 30 demands to President Lansing. But would we be here tonight were it not for UVA's This is a little anecdote. In 1989, on their annual spring break tour, they visited Vanderbilt University and had an eye-awakening experience seeing their culture center. That only reinforced how far behind UC was from many of its peer institutions. So indeed, that visit to Nashville in 1989 was an important catalyst and only energized student leaders like Byron Stallworth, who's here with us tonight, and Reggie Brazil, who's with us tonight, as well as Harlan Jackson. Again, we need several spots on that UC Mount Rushmore for those UVA leaders who were galvanized and propelled the administration toward taking action and approval of the Culture Center. But I would be remiss if I didn't also add that UC Mount Rushmore should have space certainly reserved also for Dr. Odell Owens. Dr. Odell Owens was on the Board of Trustees in 1989 at a May meeting, and he was very persuasive with the board, and it was back then that the board ordered the feasibility study itself for that summer and fall. And putting his money where his mouth was, Dr. Owens invested $10,000 of his own funds to underwrite the expenses of the committee, which allowed us to travel around the country visiting other centers and coming up with a compelling document supporting the rationale, supporting the purpose, supporting the goals and vision of an AACRC and UC. So find a place on that UC Mount Rushmore for Dr. Owens. So finally, feasibility study together with the iron will of UVA student leaders. It really was a bottom-up phenomenon. It was the iron will of UVA students together with that feasibility study that led to the birth of the AACRC some 30 years ago. Bravo to them. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Letitia Bates, and I'm the Associate Dean for Inclusive Excellence and Community Partnership in the College of Arts and Sciences. While I may not be UC alumna, which means I'm not a center kid, I certainly consider myself center faculty and a part of the AACRC village. I am super excited and honored to be able to celebrate the 30th anniversary and to wish us congratulations on reaching such an amazing milestone. Here's to 30 more years of lifting as we climb.
Thank you, Dr. Perzikian, for your beautiful words and work that you did to bring us here today. You will never be forgotten. Next, please welcome Eku Williams, President of 4A, who will speak on behalf of the African American Alumni Affiliate.
Good evening. I sound real tired. Good evening. Great, great. I am Eku Williams. I am the 4A chair for the African American affiliate at University of Cincinnati. And then also as an alumni, I personally want to thank the Culture Center, because without this Culture Center, I probably wouldn't have graduated myself. Coming in the summer of '94, I started at UC in ethnic E3. And so one of the first things they tell you, go to the Culture Center. That's your safe haven, right? So at that moment, that became my second home. And I can speak personally, but that also was a home of the other students. Either they graduate, they graduate. That was a safe haven for us all. I remember a funny story. It would be times that you would be hungry. And at the time, the Alley Cat was connected to the Culture Center. So it's a place where you can kind of go eat, play pool, get some food. Well, understand the Black community was very small then, so we were as a family. So they would just say, go next door and get something to eat from the Alley Cat. Mind you, I didn't say pay, right? So it was just a community that you had that was very important that the Culture Center had. And without the Culture Center, that bond, that family that we have today is the reason why I exist as 4A chair and why our Alumni Association is as strong as it is. So as we go forward, in my remarks, is really that's continue that unison between the Culture Center and as the 4A, because without the students that come through the Culture Center, there is no alumni. They go hand in hand. And with that crowd, that development, and that family cohesiveness that we have through the Culture Center, that bond and family and building those relationships, those networking, that continues all through alumni. And that is where we need you to continue to give back, continue to build that community that we have in 4A now. And just continue to share our communication with one another and build, because one thing that we do know, and I've told a lot of my friends who went to HBCU, unless you truly experience University of Cincinnati, the Blackness there, we were a small HBCU. We had to stick together very strong. We fought for each other. We came into University of Cincinnati as strangers, and to this day, we live as family. And I think, I can't speak for a lot of other PWIs, but I can speak specifically for the University of Cincinnati, that the Black community here is very strong knit, and we have each other's back. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you again personally as a Black alumni, but then as 4A chair, let's continue this unison, let's continue to build and support one another so we get to 40, 50, 60 years and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Williams. Next, please welcome Mr. Camry Mall, who will speak on behalf of the group who was instrumental in sustaining and creating spaces in the AACRC. Camry will speak on behalf of the ILA 8.
Habarigani. Y'all sound real sleep. I need a little more energy for that. I'm gonna say it one more time. Habarigani. Okay. So before I get started, I'll be remiss if I didn't pay homage to those that came before us. Shout out to Tony Jackson, Eileen Reed, and other members of UVA in the 1960s who inspired the list of demands that we submitted to the university. Shout out to Harlan Jackson. Shout out to Reggie Brazel and the UVA in the 1980s, who I believe is an instrumental reason why we got a Black Culture Center today. Got to give a huge shout out to the Men Collegiate 100, a huge shout out to the Lamb Society, huge shout out to the AACRC and its staff for really just holding us down in those tough times in 2015, 2016, and really just connecting us to our greater village. Most people, they think we started the IRA 8 simply because, and let me rephrase that. They thought we started the IRA 8 because of the murder of Sam DuBose, but that was just a culmination of everything that we had endured up until that point. We remember the mutiny and racism that Dean Jackson and Associate Dean Carol Tung Mack experienced in the College of Arts and Science. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, but that's for another day. And so we know, or we remember when Sam DuBose happened, with a little nudge from our village, shout out to Christina Brown. But we knew at that time, it was our turn to stand up for the university, or stand up for the Black students at the university, and make sure we address some systemic issues of not only facing the Black student staff and faculty, but also the community at large. The list of demands that we had petitioned to the university ended up becoming a national framework for a lot of Black student organizations across the nation. And the one demand that I'm most proud of, we're able to see through, is not only the renovation of the Black Culture Center, but also the expansion of the Black Culture Center. And now we got a space that will carry us on moving forward for the next 30 years. I believe our success was predicated on a few things. One, we were all academically sound, and we made sure that we were involved in the right positions on campus. So, we had me, I was on the board of trustees. We had my frat brother, Mitchell Phelps. Shout out to the Newts, shout out to BH. Mitchell Phelps was student body president. We had my man Chris Stewart holding it down in the College of Engineering. We had Brittany Bibb holding it down UBSA, Ashley Cottage, and everything else. And, you know, for us, it wasn't about selling out. Like, we knew we all needed to be in the right positions at the right time, so when it was time to affect change, we could do that. So in conclusion, to the students, I'm gonna leave y'all with these 3 nuggets. In the words of Nipsey Hussle, remember it's a marathon. Stay resilient. Stay 10 toes down. 2, make sure you groom and mentor leaders to come after you. And remember, you might not see it through. It might be for the next generation, but that's cool, because that's what it's all about. We gotta pay it forward for those who come after us. And 3, if you don't remember nothing else I say today, just remember this. You hold the power at this university, period. Your tuition paid these people's salary. So if you want to see change, change ain't never happened from being and playing it safe. So stay dangerous. Apply pressure and see it through. Thank you.
Thank you, Camry, and welcome back to UC. Coming next is Justin M. Gibson, Program Director, Diversity Outreach and Engagement, who will introduce a special anniversary new initiative.
Just to let you know, I got permission to take this off. And I know it's a very serious event, but it's been a family reunion. Some of y'all folks I ain't seen in about a year and a half. And so many memories flooded back, all at once. And then, like, who brought up the alley cat? See, I don't know where Brandy at. Brandy, you remember alley cat? Who else remember the alley cat? Going from the center to the alley cat and getting some wings or getting some pizza and going back over to the center for study tables and all those. I guess it is a tough crowd today, huh? Okay. Okay, well, let me. Hope I already got it. Okay. Let me go ahead and get into it. So in an evening where we were able to hear stories about how the AACRC has impacted so many lives, please allow me to offer up my own story. So I came here to UC in September 2000 from the Cleveland area as a first-generation college student with $23 in my pocket and was only able to go to college simply because I was a maximum Pell Grant eligible student. Not a single other student from a high school came to UC, and I had no family here. So I was literally, in every sense of the word, on my own. And I quickly found the AACRC, or it found me. I'm still not sure how that went. And Dr. Terry Hurdle, right over here to my right, admitted me into the first official transitions class. And when my father passed that December of that year, I used the little money I had for school to help with funeral expenses. And so when I got back, I told some people my issue, and I was told to go see Dr. Eric Abercrombie. I didn't know how it happened, but just a few days later, I had my books. And later, that winter quarter, see, we was on quarters then. I don't know, y'all youngsters understand what it's like being on quarters. Y'all probably think he arrived in September, like he already off the wrong foot, he a whole month late. So, but we were on quarters then, so I don't know how to explain quarters. You have to ask somebody else. But later on that winter quarter, Dr. Stacy Downing, who was then the director of the AACRC, asked me if I wanted to go on the spring break tour. And so I told her I didn't have money to pay for it. And she responded,
for those who know Stacy, is the only way she could. I didn't ask you to have any money. I asked you if you wanted to go on the tour. And was that good? Don't tell her I did that. I don't know if she's watching virtually. And over the summer of my freshman year, after going home, I received an email from Dr. LaShonta Jones-Tenner, which said something like this. I was talking to some of the staff at the AACRC, and they recommended you to be added to the Darwin T. Turner Scholars Program. So my story when it comes to AACRC is so strong. Even Eric Wofford over here to my right let me join a choir knowing I couldn't sing. And so the center itself, affectionately known as the center, you don't have to say the AACRC. You say the center, people know exactly what you're talking about. But the center has made a difference in my life and has changed the trajectory of my family. And even though I don't recognize any of the young faces there anymore, and certainly none of the music that they play there, it is still home, and it will always be home, and I will always be a proud center kid. And that's why this evening, I invite you to join me on this very special endeavor. The AACRC is partnering with the UC Alumni Association and the UC Foundation on a fundraising campaign in celebration of the 30th anniversary of the African American Cultural and Resource Center. The goal is to raise $30,000. This campaign begins today, right now, and will be used to create programs that meet the needs of our students, as well as strengthen existing ones such as Brother to Brother, Sister to Sister, Tahimba, and the Spring Break Tour. And yes, your gift will go directly to support the AACRC. And just like that movement that was started more than 3 decades ago, reaching this goal will take all of us. Because we know that when we pool our collective resources, there is nothing we cannot do or accomplish. So this evening, we're not asking you to make a donation. We're asking you to make an investment, to plant a seed that one day will produce the most fragrant of flowers. And how do we know this? It's because we have 30 years of evidence to back it up. In your program, or at least adjacent to it in your seats, there's a card that has the information you need to make your gift. You are even able to use your smartphone to scan the QR code, and it will take you directly to the giving page. And for those of you who are watching virtually or through social media, don't worry. We're going to make sure you get your link so that you are able to make your gifts as well. So in the spirit of ukarimu, which is the Swahili word for generosity, let us pool our collective resources to support the center and all they do for Black students at the University of Cincinnati. And this is off script, but let's not even pretend that it's just Black students either. It's our white brothers and sisters, our Latino brothers and sisters, our gay brothers and sisters, our faculty and staff, all the programming that happens at the center that is so vital to the lifeblood of this university. Let's follow the examples of other great Black alumni who have given so generously to the AACRC, such as Jerome Jackson, Brenda Woods, Audrey Woods, Eric Royals, Andrew Oyedeji, our own Dr. Bluzette Marshall, and of course, Mother Georgia Beasley. And when you make that gift, make sure that it is one that says, I love you, and I support the work that you all are doing. Because the AACRC is our home, and these are our students, and now is the time to show them how much they mean to us.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson, for developing this giving initiative through the AACRC. And thank you for your program that you hosted at our 25th anniversary 5 years ago that undoubtedly set the stage for the 30-year events. Coming up next are two AACRC giants who are not only appreciated for their work to bring the AACRC to our campus, they are also appreciated for their hard work on the planning committee to bring this program to us. First, Professor Stephen Jones, class of 1991, is the assistant professor at the Leonard College of Business. Following Professor Jones is Byron Stallworth, class of 1992, who now serves as the CEO at Inclusion Building Solutions. But before that, I'm playing a brief video from Professor Stephen Jones.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Jones. I served as the Vice President of the United Black Association in 1988, the year that we submitted our initial proposal for the African American Culture and Research Center. I'm very honored to be a part of this 30-year celebration. I can't believe it's been 30 years since the Cultural Center was established at the University of Cincinnati. But I'm excited, and I look back on it very fondly. It's probably one of the greatest accomplishments I was a part of while a student, as it has lasted as long as it has. And I look forward to the next 20, 30, 40 years of the Cultural Center fulfilling its purpose and goals to improve the quality of life for African American students at the University of Cincinnati. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Please welcome Professor Stephen Jones and Mr. Byron Stallworth to the stage in that order.
Good evening, everyone. Honored to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. As you saw in the video, I'm a 1991 graduate. I actually came to the university as a Darwin Turner Scholar. Back in the day, we were minority scholars, so a little different. And after I graduated, well, during my time here as a student, I was Vice President of the United Black Association and served on the board for 3 of those years. And was really involved in helping us try to drive improvement for the life of African American students. And a lot of that came from our mentors, people that motivated us. And after I graduated, I went on, I spent 30 years in corporate America. I worked all over the world. And after those 30 years, I decided to come back to my alma mater because I wanted to repay some of those debts. See, I know I never would have achieved what I had achieved. I would not have stood on the conference I stood on if it had not been for people like Dr. Abercrombie, for Solomon Taylor, for certainly Ms. Linda Bates Parker. She got me my first real job that started it all off. I think back and I thank God for Sherry Westmoreland. I said Dr. Saul Taylor, but also Ken Simonson, Frank Bowen, and certainly Mr. Bob Meacham. And if you don't know who they are really also on that Mount Rushmore of legends of people who really paved the way. But I realized that as my career was winding down, I was in a place where I really wanted to pay back what I knew I could not pay them back, but I could pay it forward. And so I'm really here standing in agreement with my brothers as a call to action for the alumni to come back and to support not only the university, but particularly the Cultural Center, and especially our African American students. When I came back to UC as a full-time professor 2 years ago, I was really surprised when I found that although the overall student enrollment was higher than it was when I was a student, I saw fewer African American students in 2020 than I saw in 1988. When I walk through the halls of the College of Business on a daily basis, I see fewer African American students than I saw in 1987. As a matter of fact, the majority of the African American faces I see in the College of Business on a daily basis are the janitorial staff. So my call is for us to remember how we got where we got. Who paved the way? Who made us? Who made an impression on us?
who motivated us, and come back and share that with our students at the Cultural Center. Because just as we had mentors, just as we had people who challenged us, just as we had people who taught us not to ask for anything, but to go and take what's yours, who taught us to go after what we were entitled to and not wait on something to be given, we need to share that as well with our students today. Now, I'm not just asking for you to spend your time, I'm not asking for you to quit your job like I did and come back and teach. But if you so choose, students need to see that there are African-American professionals who do what they want to see done. And it's not just for the African-American students, it's for all students to know that there are African-Americans in high positions in corporations all around the world who do big things and graduated from the University of Cincinnati. And I wouldn't be remiss because I'm not the kind of person that asks people to do stuff that I wouldn't do. So I'm gonna give $1,000. If you need 30, I got one. But I know I would not have achieved the things that I achieved if it wasn't for the mentors that I had in my life. So for those out there, whether you're here, alumni here, or on Zoom, the Cultural Center needs you as mentors, guest speakers, and people to come back and serve as examples, just to show our students what is truly achievable, right? All right. I look forward to seeing y'all on campus.
I'm happy to be here. I'm Byron Stallworth. I'm the first person I met at the University of Cincinnati with my mother, coming back from Army Med School with Stephen Jones, the guy who spoke right before me. And one of the things that they got me set up in Dabney Hall, he said, there's a student organization called the UBA, United Black Association. Will cost you $1. I need to see you in that office. And 30 years later, I'm happy to give my $1. But when Justin put up the $580, the $500 was me. Steve just upped and gave. I spend my time calling names, singing the names, giving the roses while people are here. To those who spent time being a student leader and getting behind the cause and making a dream, a plan become reality. So you've already heard Mayor Dwight Tillery, his name evoked, but there were other professors, leaders, doctors that were involved in installing us, inviting us to their homes. Yes, they invited us to their homes. They weren't going to have these meetings on campus. Okay? So if you're a young student leader, please raise your hand. Young student leaders, it can get real. All right? So that was Dr. Mel Posey, Dr. Odell Owens, Kenneth Simonson, Dr. Hinton, Dr. Abercrombie, and most people don't know this, but Reggie Harlan and I would have these private meetings sometimes with Dr. Norman Baker and Dr. Wagner. For the rest of the UVA was not around. I came behind two awesome leaders. I consider them to be friends, but more mentors. Harlan Jackson is president of UVA, and I was on that very spring break tour with him. And I'd like to say his administration was, we want this. And there were some students that are in the room at the time. Reggie Bradley, Bill Harris, Lori Davis, Eugenia Eccles, Tiffany Hinton, Kevin Boston, of course, Harlan Jackson and Stephen Jones. We all lined up behind those leaders, and there's a next group of leaders that came with Reggie Jackson, or with Reggie Brazel. And Reggie was a different kind of leader from Harlan and myself. He would tell you like it is. He would get in your face. He would push you. He would challenge your Blackness. And there are a number of things that happened during his administration. We went to visit other colleges, Ohio State, UK, IU, Colgate, Harvard, Yale, Rutgers. As Tony Perdigan, Dr. Perdigan spoke of, I was blessed enough with that gift from Odell Owens to travel to the Northeast with Dr. Abercrombie. But there are some student leaders that went on those trips to the other schools. Some of them are here today. You'd stand up. If you went on those tours and went to other schools, stand up. I want the young students to see that they're here. Thank you, Amber. Some of the things that happened during Reggie's administration, we protested apartheid. That was a thing. Some of you may not even heard of what that means. But we protested on the bridge. We stood in front of Dr. Stager's office and demanded the cultural center. Reggie had a few choice words for the news record on many occasions. And then how I got pulled in with that invite from Stephen Jones, I ran a program over at Marion Middle School, which is now Cincinnati Public Schools headquarters. And about 10 of us, men and women, would go over and mentor students at Marion Middle School. And we got to bring people like Lionel Richie and the Honorable Shirley Chisholm to meet students while they're in middle school, so they could see that it inspired to go to college. I happened to go through my archives, and these are some of the names of the leaders during Reggie's administration: Dina Ellison, Tom Brain, Reggie Brazel, Alicia Collins, Lori Davis, Freddie Dickerson, Yolanda Hart, Holly Hudson, Stephen Jones, Sylvia Jordan, Renita Kennedy, Dan Liggins, Caprice Reese, Denise Wallington, Ross Wright, and myself. And in my administration, we were truly just executing a plan that had been talked about back when Harlan was president, and we had all the skull sessions with our mentors. We got to do the ribbon cutting. I got to make the presentation to the Board of Trustees that Tony Perdigan was talking about. We had to deal with resource versus research, which Bouzette talked about earlier today. We talked about African American and multicultural. We had to fight that fight. And then lastly, the ribbon cutting, which you saw a video of today. But again, I'm going to read the names of folks in my administration that made an impact. We did not do this on our own. They talk about Harlan, they talk about Reggie, they invoke my name, but it was mainly sisters that got all the plans executed. So I'm going to name some more names, and they're going to be repeated because most of these students were student leaders for 3 or 4 years. Dina Allison, if you're here, please stand up. Dina Allison, Yolanda Hart, Tom Brain, Latasha Brown Reedus, Lori Davis, Mustafa Baruti Israel, Shonda Monroe Williams, Dorit Dansby, Amber Twitty, Ross Wright, Denise Wallington, Bakari Brad Booker, Sylvia Jordan, Don Stewart Thomas, and Tracer Slater Rago. These people that are behind me were part of my administration, officers, executive at large, went to meetings with Dr. Steger, Dr. Wagner. I want to invoke their names. I wanted to go down in history. As Dr. Krasinski said, it was a 3-year hump. It was planned and we executed a plan together. And if there's nothing else I can say, as for students who are here today, it will come true if you manifest it and live it out. The question today is, what are you going to fight? What do you want to fight for? And we're here to mentor you. We're in the room. There's a document that I pulled off and brought over. It was interesting. It was the beginning of the year, and Tiffany Hinton was like our scribe. And it starts out, in eloquent words of the phenomenal rapper Kumo D, how you like me now? And 30 years later, we'll say that again, how you like me now? I think Justin brings up a very good point. It is time to put your money where your mouth is. If you have the means, $500 for 5 years, $1,000 for 5 years is what's real. I just came off a fundraising campaign for an honorary fraternity brother of mine who died unexpectedly last year. And from other corporations where he was president or CEO, we raised $65,000 in about 6 weeks. I'll say that again. We raised $65,000 in about 6 weeks. 30,000 is nothing. It is nothing. So with that, I thank you for your time. I thank you for your patience. As I read off the names of student leaders who are active in the 3 years while I was involved in the UVA. Thank you for your time. God bless. And I'm looking forward for another 30 years.
Thank you both for those most inspiring messages. I am both inspired to reach back, give back, and praise those who have come before us. And what I've just expressed will be perfectly reflected in these next 2 segments. First, I will ask my student peers to reflect upon their experiences with the AACRC, after which we will hear from one of the most inspiring Black women on our campus, Mrs. Mercedes Johnson, as she will reflect upon her inspiration as once a student to now one who watches over the center community. Coming to the stage, we will have Cameron Morrow, Gerald Crosby, Julian Hill, Naomi Admasu, followed by Ms. Mercedes.
This enunciate. Okay. My name is Naomi Admasu, and I am. Okay. All right, here we start. Hello, my name is Naomi Admasu, and I'm currently a graduating 3rd year, and I'm so happy to be here with you all tonight. When I think back on if there was ever one specific instance where I had a monumental moment of realizing the center's specialty, to be quite honest, I can't really think of one. It's simply always been constant, and that's the significance of it to me. From walking in and always being embraced with a greeting at the door to always getting that, all right, I'll see you when you leave is what's impactful. It's not mundane and it doesn't get ordinary, it's intentional. There's an atmosphere that's created by my peers and the center staff that's truly unmatched. Despite changes, whether that's been to staff or virtual programming, one thing that hasn't changed is the constant nature of the center and the people who make it up, past and present. When I initially think of the center, like many others, I think of a community to turn to. Coming to this university as a little young freshman in a city I wasn't familiar with was overwhelming, but the center offered me a haven. To know you have somewhere to go, where you'll be seen with even a simple, "Hey, how was your day?" was comforting. Being able to come to a place where I was surrounded by people that looked like me was reassuring, but more than that, it's necessary. The center has allowed me to grow in my identity as a Black woman. It has given me a space to feel safe, learn, grow, and be confident in my Black skin. It pours into students if only we'll allow it. It is without a doubt something special and my favorite part of this university, and it's only fitting that it's being celebrated at its 30th anniversary today. Thank you all.
Good evening, everyone. All right, thank you. Y'all so up. My name is Julian Hill. I'm a third-year student here at the University of Cincinnati. And when I was asked to reflect on my time here at the university, the first thing that came to mind was COVID. I mean, that's been half my experience here. But in all honesty, when I think about my time here at the University of Cincinnati, a lot of my success that I've had here points back to the center and being a center kid. I had no clue what I wanted from college, and I've been at predominantly white schools since I was in the 7th grade. And one thing that I knew was I wanted to be around my people, Black people. So as you can see, I'm at the University of Cincinnati. It's a PWI. Well, first things first, HBCU tuition is no joke. It's a whole different beast, and I don't think I qualify for the minority scholarships there. But when it came down to it, the existence of the center and the transitions program are the ultimate reasons that I chose UC. From the moment I stepped into the center, it felt like home. Hello, all right. From the moment I stepped foot in the center, it felt like home. I can't tell you how many of my friends have a picture of me asleep in the lounge. But that's just how comfortable I felt at the center and the people who walked through those doors. For those who might not be familiar with the center, they might just think it's a space for Black students to hang out, but it's so much more than that. The AACRC is truly the heart of Black UC. The center is our meeting space where our ideas are voiced. It is our sanctuary where our identities are valid, and it is our home away from home where our experiences are valued. From the center comes opportunity, support, resources, and most importantly, community. It is because of the center that I have met people who will be in my life for forever. From exploring our history with trips to the Underground Railroad, from offering me a seat at the Ruby and Alex Gala at Jerome Jackson's table, and just connecting me with powerful alumni and student leaders. The center has never once stopped pouring into my social, academic, personal, and professional development, even throughout a pandemic. It is because of the AACRC that I have the honor to stand here in front of you today as the Director of Advocacy in the Residence Hall Association, a base mentor, the first recipient of the Black Alumni and Friends Scholarship. Thank you. And as a man of Collegiate 100. As we celebrate the 30th anniversary of the center today, I'm so grateful to the trailblazers of the past that have made the center more than an idea. And I am excited and prepared to lead those who will continue to carry the legacy of the AACRC for many years to come.
Good evening. My name is Gerald Crosby, soon to be UC alumni in spring 22. Before I begin, who are UC alumni? Could you please just raise your hand? I want to just start off by thanking you all for all you've done for us, and just emphasizing that we are the fruits of your labor, and everything that we are able to do is because of you. So thank you again for all of y'all work, sincerely. Obarigani. Navigating life is a battle, but navigating any PWI campus as a Black person, it is not for the weak. The AACRC has helped equip me not only for challenges that I would face in college, but for the challenges of life that I will face long after graduation. They say it takes a village to raise a child, and I am a testament to that saying because it took a whole department to recruit Terry to now I am today. The center has given me some of the best role models in this world to look after. People such as Sina Hapatalasi, Iwaniki Moore Hawkins, Leland Brown, Chandler Rankin, Marquez Jones, Darwin T. Turner, Dr. Abercrombie, Brittany Bibb, Eric, Mercedes, Serene Smith, Dean Mack, and honestly, so many more. The center has also allowed me to be a role model to many, and they've helped supporting me in every passion I had, whether it was music or even creating mentor programs to better the children in the Cincinnati community. The center has always been a place where I said a prayer to before I walked in, because I knew that they would hold me accountable for all my mistakes, but it was because they knew that I knew better. The AACRC has given me hope and confidence in my abilities when I wasn't too sure of them of myself. They educated me on my African roots and helped me understand the bigger picture, that anything that we do in our lives is bigger than ourselves. To me, the African American Cultural Resource Center has been a place of growth, prosperity, and opportunity. I can't say that every experience I have had at the center has all been peaches and cream. In fact, some of them involve tears and making hard decisions, but I can't express how thankful I am for the center, for every opportunity, for every conversation, for every laugh, for every experience that the staff and my peers here have given me. I've made lifelong memories, friends, mentors, and mentees that will continue to impact my life long after graduation. To be frank, I know a lot of students who would not have graduated from our university without the support of the center. And without the center, I wouldn't be here speaking to you today. I am honored to have the opportunity to give a testimonial on the AACRC's 30th anniversary. And I am excited to see what a new set of leaders and staff will do in the next 30 years. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am just so happy to be here tonight and see everyone as we celebrate a place that brought so many. Okay, well, I don't really need a mic, but good evening, everyone. I am just super happy to be here tonight and to just see everyone as we celebrate a place that has brought so many of us together and created relationships that have played such pivotal roles in our lives as students, staff, faculty, and administration. My name is Kimberly Morrow, and I am a fourth-year Human Development and Community Engagement student, which is so crazy to say because I remember so vividly stepping foot onto campus for the first time as a first-year student in the Transitions Early Arrival program, scared out of my mind, but so ready to dive into my undergraduate journey. Because at this time in my life, I was really craving a sense of community that I had never had before. And that is exactly what I got from the center. And I think we can all agree that the center is more than a place. It's the people, it's the relationships, and it's a community unlike anywhere else on campus. Immediately, I felt at home. I remember thinking, this is going to be my place. I was just so fortunate to be welcomed by the people that have been the backbone of the center and who have contributed immensely to my development and confidence,
Mrs. Nikki, Mercedes, Viv, Mr. Eric, people that literally push me out of my comfort zone every day, encouraging me to reach far and high, and reminding me of my worth, and reminding me to pursue things that I'm passionate of. Your investment in me and your investment in so many students has only fueled my own desire to support that next generation of student leaders. And I think that's the importance of tonight and what so many of you have all shared with us. So thank you to those past and present who have and continue to pour into the space that we treasure the most. But I'm super excited to share that tonight we have a special event planned, and I would like to now invite my dear friend and co-president of the Lambda Society onto the stage, Tiara Taylor, who will now introduce herself and share a little bit about the honorary.
Good evening. My name is Tiara Taylor, and I am the current co-president of the Lambda Society. The Lambda Society was founded on April 20th, 2006 by 4 outstanding women who created the only Black women's honorary on the UC campus dedicated to service, womanhood, unity, and justice. And tonight, we are honoring even more wonderful women. So as we continue to be a light in the world, may you please have all the Lambda women here tonight come on stage.
Hi guys, it's so great to see you. Thank you for joining us. Well, we are super excited to welcome some incredible women. So on this day, September 21st, the Lambda Society proudly taps Denise Ortiz.
On this day, September 21st, the Lambda Society proudly taps Olivia Riggs.
On this day, September 21st, the Lambda Society proudly taps Ziona Kellogg.
On this day, September 21st, the Lambda Society proudly taps Christina White.
On this day, September 21st, the Lambda Society proudly taps Imani Coleman.
On this day, September 21st, the Lambda Society proudly taps Jeanette Kuchinsalu.
On this day, September 21st, the Lambda Society proudly taps Kiara Rose. On this day, September 21st, the Lambda Society proudly taps Maya Bond. On this day, September 21st, the Lambda Society proudly taps Carrington Rainey. On this day, September 21st, the Lambda Society proudly taps Naomi Admasu. On this day, September 21st, the Lambda Society proudly taps Jasmine Jones. On this day, September 21st, the Lambda Society proudly taps Jordan Stewart. On this day, September 21st, the Lambda Society proudly taps Kennedy Roberts. On this day, September 21st, the Lambda Society proudly taps Jasmine Walker. Well, that concludes our fall tap class. Thank you all so much, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your night. I know there's more to the program, so don't leave, but thank you.
Habargani. Good evening, everyone. So today's celebration of our 30-year anniversary was designated to acknowledge the evidence of the long, lasting, and loving connections with the campus, the continent, and the community. The legacy of the center was acknowledged in such a way that it will take another 30 years to top. Although I am certain that Eric will formally acknowledge everyone in his remarks, I would still like to applaud all the efforts of our precious alumni who have made this 30-year celebration possible. Our office appreciates and loves all of our Black alumni for everything that you have gave to celebrate the center. I also want to publicly thank Eric, who just celebrated 28 years of service to the AACRC. So Eric has truly done a wonderful job of bringing our alumni together to not only plan today's celebration, but all of the celebratory events leading up to this day. Let's give him another hand. As I graciously stand as the current director of the AACRC, I cannot personally and in good conscience celebrate this day without first recognizing my predecessors. They have brilliantly paved the way for me to succeed through the excellence and all that I am grateful for. First, Dr. P. Eric Abercrombie, the very first director of the AACRC, whose eyes, ears, and breath positioned the center to build upon the excellence that he initiated. From the first building, the first programs, and even the love and care he demonstrated to the many students who have made experience that for the first time through him. So on behalf of those students and me, I thank you for your influence on this campus for 47 years. Yes, I said it, 47 years that you have served us. Let's give them a hand. The very first Black female director of the center. I know I personally needed, appreciated, and valued her shoulders as I watched and learned under her guidance, passion, and love for her center kids. And it was easy for me and many others to love her back. Her impact is still being felt, her name is still being projected, and her passion is still being driven inside of me. I have big shoes to fill, but so did she. And because she succeeded, that gives me the confidence that I can succeed too. Upon me as a student and now a professional, today I'm grateful to have learned from their leadership. I am humbled and most importantly blessed for the opportunity to lead the AACRC to further excel in Black excellence that Doc and Miss Nikki displayed throughout both of their careers. While they are not physically able to be with us, their great spirits are present and sit amongst us. Therefore, it is fitting that we pause and applaud them for their leadership, their sweat, their tears, and all of their years. So while tonight's event was purposed to bring our community together to celebrate the legacy of the center, every thought, action, and creation started with the students and ended as well with students. The video you saw of me leading the students was a ceremonial act to demonstrate the AACRC's mission to lead our students to the after 30-year experience. The AACRC continues to partner each year with our village keepers, our campus colleagues, our community partners, respected alumni, and more to provide innovative programming that impacts the lives of our students. So how do we position for after 30? Building on the ways that got us here. We meet our Black students at the door with our QUABA Black Student Welcome, our Transitions Early Arrival Program, our Abercrombie Living Learning Community, and our Summer Leadership Retreat. This gets them started on a long road to navigate their way through a large campus community. We continue to nurture them and care for them by providing ways to support their mental health through intentional mindfulness activities and partnerships with offices like the Counseling and Psychological Services. We applaud their academic and their leadership excellence through the Kuji Funza ceremony, Ushindi, Taimba, and so many more. And we also serve our Black men and women through programs like Brother to Brother and SIS. We continue to find ways to better support the populations that are often forgotten, like our queer students of color, our transfer students, and our graduate and professional students. We have intentional partnerships and initiatives that continue to roll out in these areas and more. A lot of new initiatives have grown out of what was formerly called Buddy and the Mr. and Miss Arts Festival, such as our BASE program, our Kiwanis Week, Black Roundtable, and more. We are not done yet. We are entering into a new era of excellence and student success. With increased use of technology, data tracking, intentional partnerships, and always keeping the students' needs and wants at the center, we look forward to celebrating 30 more impactful years with the center still standing, reaching, and building the lives of our Black students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mercedes, for all you do to lead students to their future successes. Your impact has already been felt on campus in just a short time as director, and tonight was also a compliment to your leadership success. Now we have another AACRC celebrity who is not only responsible for helping to create the center, but is most noted for creating a staple event that is known all over the country as Black Graduation Celebration. Please welcome the founder of Payumba and the first program coordinator in AACRC, Denise McKenna Wallington Zanu.
Okay, Abargani. I would be remiss if I did not share that I am Denise Watlington. I'm not hard to find. Class of 1991, College of Education with a minor in African American Studies, special ed graduate, and proud of it. I want to give a special thanks. I was not a scholarship baby. My father worked 80 hours a week, 6 days a week, for me to be the first in my family to go to college and to graduate. And today, he and my mother are celebrating their 58th wedding anniversary. So one of the things that I was known for at UC is if you could get me to invite you to my parents' house, because I'm a local, my mother fed you. We were the cultural center before there was a cultural center. So we were the ones who had folks in our house over the summer after we did the freshman orientation. And we had all of the freshman mentors there, and we had new people there, and my mother would just say, they just keep coming. So I moved away after I left Cincinnati, and I moved away, and I remember the first 2 years, my mother kept calling, and she says, guess who's here? And it would be somebody from Dabney Hall, or somebody from one of the fraternities, or someone from the cultural center, because my home was part of the community. My home was a part of UC. My family was UC. So that home away from home, my concept of the Tahima celebration was bringing home back to campus, because we were always here. I want to thank my parents for opening their doors to so many students and feeding them all the time. They would get food when I wasn't even there. I would be like, I'm not even there. You tell them I'm living out of town? She's like, yeah, but he was so hungry, he needed some food. So thank you so much for everything you've done, not just for me, but for a lot of the alumni that came through, you know, and so we appreciate you. I have here a proclamation. When we talk about proclamations, just a declaration, in an African and Yoruba tradition, they call it ofo ashe. For when you speak it, so shall it be. So, be it proclaimed, and I'm gonna have to use my, then I'm telling my age now. Okay, here we go. Whereas the University of Cincinnati's African American Cultural and Resource Center has served the campus for 30 years as an inspiration and strong supporter of Black students. And whereas the University of Cincinnati's African American Cultural and Resource Center has been a pillar of strength, hope, resilience during a time when Black students, Black faculty and staff, as well as the community members needed reassurance they were not alone and had advocates working on their behalf. And whereas the University of Cincinnati's African American Cultural and Resource Center has led by example, demonstrating continued commitment to assist the University of Cincinnati's mission towards the retention, matriculation, and the graduation of Black students, and enriching the lives of those it encounters throughout their academic career. And whereas the University of Cincinnati African American Cultural and Resource Center has created a safe space for Black students to feel welcomed, loved, respected, while continuously providing the cultural, spiritual, and academic support they need. Don't forget the academics. That's what we're here for. And whereas the city of Cincinnati congratulates the African American Cultural and Resource Center on 30 years of service. Now, on behalf of John Cranley, the mayor of Cincinnati, do hereby proclaim September the 21st of 2021 as the African American Cultural and Resource Center Day.
Sister Wadlington, I am honored to share the stage with you, and we are all appreciative of your strong AACRC legacy that will always be celebrated on our campus. I have enjoyed my time hosting you, and it was an honor to have been graced by all of the AACRC history, legacy, and excellence. I have been inspired to do all I can as an active student to celebrate and support the AACRC. Before I introduce our final presenter, please don't forget about the giving campaign materials that Mr. Gibson spoke about. And finally, please follow all of the AACRC social medias to keep up with all the amazing things that the AACRC is doing for students on this campus. To conclude our program, please welcome Dr. Terry Hurdle, a staple in all of our center programs, who unlike no other will bring our student charge.
Well, the charge, the Harambe. As we close out this portion of our celebration, we would like to place a special focus on our current students as well as our current student leaders. Harambe means to pull together. Therefore, I combine the thoughts and well wishes from former student leaders who even after their tenure continue to positively impact the African American Cultural and Resource Center. As I give the charge, I'd like for all current students as well as current student leaders to stand for me. So the number 30 means highly creative, optimistic, and energy. As we prepare for the next stage in our journey, please get a collective charge based on 7 different words or phrases. First, repeat after me: acknowledge.
Acknowledge.
Continue to learn, recognize, and celebrate the impact of those who came before you. These actions will not only strengthen you, but also enlarge the mission and influence of the African American Cultural Resource Center. The next word, joy.
Joy.
Understand and know that there is a radical joy in being Black. Though the work towards justice is hard, joy is also part of the movement. Elevate.
Elevate.
One former student shared that we should not only work to take the AACRC's mission to the next level, but we also must protect what we have through our support, participation, and working as one. Now, this is one that I know you know, for the culture.
For the culture.
Meaning that we honor and celebrate our achievements, knowing that they were not only created and fought for those who are here presently, but for those who will follow after you. Next, community and relationships.
Community and relationship.
There's importance in creating relationships that push you to love yourself hard. Again, that push you to love yourself hard. Engage in activities that you not only enjoy, but encourage you to thrive and not remain in survival mode. Continuation.
Continuation.
The center should always be a place of safety, refuge, unapologetic Blackness, and history. A place where we share the beauty, challenging conversations, and cultural exchanges. The center is just a physical representation of all these different things that we see. And so with that being said, we wanted to say asante, which just means thank you. Thank you to those who push for the manifestation of the promise. Thank you to those who continue to support the promise. And thank you to our current students and leaders who challenge us daily to keep the promise. Now, can everybody stand for me? Now, I said Harambe means let's pull together. So what does Doc usually make us do at the end of every time he asks us to give a 60 fist and raise it high, yes. Hope I can do this right, Lord have mercy, Doc. Anyway, so together with fist raised, we're going to say Harambe on the 3rd time. Please hold the Harambe. So we're going to say up, Harambe, up, Harambe, up, Harambe, hold it, up, Harambe. Let's pull together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hurdo. You always inspire us with your absolutely pure fire. We have to come to an end of what has been a wonderful experience, which I was honored to co-host. And before I leave, for those of you who want to kick it, join us at the AACRC tonight for the after party with DJ One Take. He'll be spinning the sounds from the eras of the Cultural Center, playing popular tunes from the 60s up to today's music. Cut a step, do a jig, even break dance. And now, Mr. I'm sorry. And now Eric Lockford, who coordinated all the year-long 30th anniversary events, will give the party remarks.
Promise I won't be long. I know we're all going to go to the party, right? With me? Okay. I swear I had this planned out 2.5 hours. Okay. But anyway, thanks everyone, so very quickly, thanks everyone for coming. And I'm gonna ask the steering committee, the planning committee, to please join me on stage for, you have put out your history, your harassment, but most importantly, your hearts in this anniversary celebration. Thank you, first family, for your support and joining us today. I wanted to give a special recognition to another piece of royalty in the AACRC archives, if you will. He is Mr. Bob Merriweather. If you could stand and be acknowledged. He's on the field with one of the AACRC family, our staff, Mercedes, where's Adam, our graduate student assistant. I'll come back to you. Oh, God, this is so embarrassing. What's your name again? Huh? Jackie, I promise it's late. I'm so sorry. So I need program manager. What you do with us and we love it. I got too much tomorrow. Lastly, there are some people who support us financially, but I want to acknowledge also, who is also part of our steering committee, Wood sister, Audrey is not here, her sister Brenda is here. Brenda and Audrey will sponsor like 90% of this anniversary program. So that's all I have to say. Again, thank you for coming, and please join me. I'm gonna put on my skinny jeans. We're gonna go to AACRC and kick it, right? All right, thank you and good night.
Okay.